Hello. I was all happily adding my lining here. I'm just clicking more buttons. There we go. I was happily finishing up adding the lining to this bag, and there were 5 minutes, and then there were 2 minutes, and then it was like showtime, and I'm like, oh crap, I almost missed. Right? I was just stitching away over here. So I'm finishing up putting this lining into this bag. And yeah, that's where I am right now. I have been playing with fabric and crochet for the last couple days, trying to choose fabrics for lining and everything. And I have some hardware coming, well, just like lobster clasps and D-rings coming to attach straps for the straps that I want to be able to change out and such. So yeah, that's kind of where I am. Just here we go. I'm at the point where I can tie my knot. Look at that. I almost finished before we were ready to start, right? So yeah, I got a little distracted. All right, here we go. And I just need to, there's my pin cushion, and I have some scissors so I can cut my thread. And let's see, we have some awesome people here, including Rachel Weiss from Leaping Loops, I see over on Instagram. And I'm going to get to meet her in person this weekend, and I'm super excited. Okay, so remember this flat bag that I was making? We have the phone size, right? So I just have to do the little finishing and weaving the ends. We have the kind of purse-ish, small bag-ish size, right? So this is actually medium. And then this is the flap. Lost my English. This is the flap pattern that comes with the bag, is the actual flap pattern that fits for all three sizes. Well, that one size doesn't fit for all three sizes. The pattern is written so you can make one for any of the sizes. And then I had this one, which is bigger, and it was like these, flat, right? So what I did was I made a bottom for it, and there is actually a piece of plastic canvas in here. So, plastic canvas. Woo. And what I did was I took my bag, right? So let's say this is the bag when it is lying flat like this, okay? And I decided that I wanted the bottom of the bag to be 3 inches this way. So what I did was I took a ruler and I marked half of 3 inches is 1.5 inches, right? So I marked with my ruler 1.5 inches here and 1.5 inches here. And then I did the same thing over here. I marked 1.5 inches and 1.5 inches. Okay. Woo, when it was folded up. And then what I was able to do is take those little 1.5 inch spots. I did it on both sides of the lining. And I did this on the lining, okay? And I drew, and there's a video that you're going to have. I have to edit it and publish it and everything, but I made a video as I was doing this. Okay, but you have your 1.5 inch squares marked when the bag is folded in half. So this is the bag folded like lying flat like this. So I marked the lining, which I made just like this, okay, on the front and the back. And then I took those squares and basically I grabbed this point on the front and the back. So that would be like here and here. And I flattened it. Okay. And that's where you stitch. And since I did it 1.5 inches away from the seams, that gives you a 3 inch wide bottom. So then on this side, I did the same thing. I did the inch and a half and the inch and a half, and I found that point, inch and a half, found this point, and then grabbed the points and went poosh and made that little triangle. And then I stitched it on the sewing machine. And Rachel says, yay, because we're going to get to see each other this weekend. And so then once I had both of those triangles stitched, I just was able to fold them and make the bottom of the bag. So I did the stitching on the sewing machine for the lining. For the crochet part of the bag, I measured that inch and a half and inch and a half, and I just marked it with a pin, right? Because you can't like really do a nice little pencil line or whatever. So I marked it with a pin where those points were and did that to pull it. And then you'll see in the video, I just did a running stitch to hold that straight line together, and I folded the triangles in, and then I whip stitched around the triangles to make them stay. And the reason I decided to put my triangles on the outside of the bag and not on the inside of the bag is because I figure there will be times that I'll sit this bag down standing when there's stuff that's heavy in it. And that's just going to give it a little bit more padding at the bottom there, okay? And I kind of like the way it looks, right? It's neat looking. It's really nice. It's really neat looking that way. So that's just the triangles folded over and hand stitched down, okay? And I just used the gray thread, the gray yarn for that. And then on the inside, I have this piece fabric. And I don't know that you're really going to be able to see inside the bag, but like I said, there's a video. But I did the same thing. And inside there is a piece of plastic canvas. Like I said, the plastic canvas is sandwiched between the lining of the bag and the crochet bag. And I stitched it by hand to the bottom of the lining first, and then put it in here, and that helped me because you can feel the plastic canvas, and I can feel where the corners are and everything. So by just quickly hand stitching it to the bottom of the lining, when I then put the lining in here, I took my gray thread again. Actually, no, I think I took my sewing thread at that point, and I stitched through all those layers on the four corners. I just did a couple stitches here, a couple stitches here, a couple stitches here, a couple stitches here, so that it's stitched together through all those layers on the four corners. And that's really holding the bottom of the lining in place. And I was able to do that because I first hand stitched the plastic canvas to the lining so that I could feel where everything is, because this bag, you can't really, like, it would have been such a pain if I had to like look and see where things are. Being able to feel where the things are inside the bag, definitely a bonus. So you want to think about that when you're doing something where accessing what you're doing and seeing what you're doing becomes an issue. Think about things like, can I feel what I'm doing? All right. So I did that, and then I just took the top of my bag, and I had a seam on both edges simply because I couldn't, the only direction, my fabric wasn't wide enough to fold this way, to like just take the piece and fold it. Like, my fabric wasn't wide enough to fold it like this to be the lining of the bag. And since it was this direction, if I folded it this way, since there was a right side up and upside down on the fabric, when I folded it this way, one side of the lining was upside down, and I was like, well, I don't want that. So I cut two pieces and sandwiched them together so that both sides of the lining would be right side up. But that means there's a seam right here and a seam right, where is it? There. Okay, so there's a seam here and here. If you were able to fold it in half, from the bottom, there'd still be a seam here and here if you fold, and not on the bottom. And if you fold it in half side to side, there'd be a seam on the bottom and a seam over here. There'd only be two seams if you folded it. Since I had to sandwich it, there's a seam here, and a seam across the bottom. And then I flattened it out. And I used those seams to kind of line up with the sides of the crochet bag. And I folded my fabric under about 1/4 of an inch, and then I stitched it down by hand. You're not going to be able to see it. I seriously doubt you'll be able to see it. It's just black thread. I used, you can kind of see like the little denser shadows where I just did a whip stitch through the fabric, through the top of the fold of the fabric, and some of the yarn. Tried not to go through to the front of the yarn. It's plenty thick that I could catch like an entire strand of yarn without going through to the front easily enough, right? So I just whip stitched that top on there. Now what I'm going to do next, I still need to get my zipper, but I'm going to do that triangle thing again, right? So I'll find my 1.5 inches and my 1.5 inches, and fold them. It's kind of, woo, there we go. Brain fry. There we go. Haha. Yeah. So I'll find my 1.5 inches and my 1.5 inches, and I'll fold them. But obviously there's not a seam on this, right? This isn't seamed together. But what'll happen is I'll fold it like this, okay? And I'll have that same fold on the other side. Let me kind of do that. Where's my seam? Here it is. Woo. There we go. Let me make sure this one was actually on the seam. I'm going to go fold and fold. Okay, so I'll have my 1.5 inches and my 1.5 inches like this. And I will seam that. I will do a little stitching here where my thumbs are. And that's how I'm going to attach the strap to that section. And because the lining is already in there, that fabric lining, the fabric isn't stretchy, whereas the crochet is. And I know I told you guys this last week, but I'm just kind of reiterating it. Since crochet is stretchy, if I didn't have the lining already in this and I folded this and then stuck the strap onto here, this would just stretch with the weight of whatever's in the bag, in gravity and all of that. So that's why I did the lining first. Then I'm going to do this. And then I have a zipper that I have a zipper coming. It'll be here on Friday, that I'm going to put inside here so that it can zip opened and closed. And, you know, I'll give it a little bit of a steam between having this part stitched here and here, and then the zipper in, and then I can give it a little bit of a steam to kind of give it that flatter top. I thought about just leaving the top like this, but I didn't really, I wasn't thrilled about the way the look would be if I put a zipper in it. Like that would work if I put the straps in attached like here and here, and then put like a snap or something here. But I really wanted, because I figure I'll probably be using this at the trade shows or whatever. I wanted to make sure that I could zip it shut. So if I'm out, if I walk off the trade show floor, if I can like go out for lunch and I have my bag with me, I can have it zipped shut. And I want it to easily be open when I'm on the trade show floor. So I was like, all right, zipper, that works great. So that's kind of where I'm going with this. And you know what? Once I have all the bits and pieces here this weekend, or like on Friday when I'm trying to get it all together at last minute, right? Who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind. But whatever I do, I'll record it, and then you'll be able to see it. So there's that. And Rachel says that she loves this fabric, and I realize I am on the wrong screen over here, and I'm not seeing your comments. Aha. Monique says hello and says, can it be stitched by hand? It absolutely can. You may see my old sewing machine over there. And I used the sewing machine to do these seams and to stitch the triangle part on the lining. There is no reason why you can't do just like a back stitch to a handmade back stitch to sew it together. And I hand stitched it up here to this attached, where I attached the lining to the bag, was done by hand. If you were here at the very beginning, you saw me doing the last couple inches. So, and Rachel over on Instagram says that she loves the fabric. Me too. And then this was actually, I bought this originally. It was a charity thing. I can't remember the name of it, but it's something where you make pillowcases for children in the hospital. So they want like fun pillowcases for their pillows. And so I had gone to the we have a fabric warehouse here, and I bought a whole bunch of really fun fabrics to make pillowcases, and this was one of them. And so that's why I just had this piece left that was exactly the width. I mean, like literally, I didn't cut this direction. It was exactly the width I needed, and it was about 3 times the length I needed. So all I did was take off the height that I needed twice, because like I said, I didn't want it to be upside down. So rather than making it long and folding it in half, I cut 2 pieces and sandwiched them. And then now this is all that I have left, but I had this taller is what I had left. And there's actually one also really skinny, much skinnier piece somewhere in this pile that I might end up using if I make a crochet strap. If the strap is something that might be stretchy, I'll line it with the other piece of this that's longer. It's the full length again, and it's only like this wide, so I could probably cut it in half and seam it together to make it plenty long for a strap. So yeah, there's that. And oh, Monique loves the fabric too. And I was going to show you then, this is the other one that I had that again, I was going to once this is all put together, I'll have a little strap that you can, 2 little straps that have lobster clasps at the end of them. And then on the corner here and here, I'll have little D-rings, which are just basic, you know, little, instead of the little metal circle, it's a little metal D, right? So I'll sew the flat part onto the bag here and here, and then there'll be the little half circle coming up, and I'll use the lobster clasps that are hanging, that I can flip out of the bag to hang this bag in front of it, almost like a hanging pocket. But then if I'm going somewhere and I just want this bag and not the bigger one, then I can unclip it and I'll have a strap that I can attach to the D-rings with the lobster clasps. And for the fabric, which I was just getting to that, Monique says, are you putting fabric in the smaller purse as well? Yes, I was going through my fabrics, and no, it's not this one, it's back here. So this is the fabric I chose to put inside the smaller one. I was going back and forth between these 2 fabrics to put inside the smaller bag. And the reason I ended up going with this one is just because I have a decent amount of this. And I was like, I really like this. I might want to use it for something else. So I decided I would use this one because I've just got a little bit of this one. And it will work well for the inside of my bag. So I'm going to use this to line the inside of the bag. And this will be super simple. I will take a piece that is, oh, here we go. So I'll cut a piece about this size-ish, okay? We're going to estimate here. Basically, if I trace, I'll measure the bag, and I'll need a piece that is the height of the bag plus like 1 inch. And then the piece that is the width of the bag times 2 plus 1 inch. Okay, so we'll pretend like that's what this is, that it is the height of the bag plus 1 inch, and then the width of the bag times 2 plus 1 inch. Let me take this off. Okay, and then all I'm going to have to do is I would fold it in half, right sides together, and by hand or on the sewing machine, I would sew a 1/2 inch seam down the side and across the bottom. All right, and then I would you don't have to turn it right side out, because remember, you actually want the right side to be on the inside because it's the lining of the bag, right? Just like with this one. The right side is on the inside because it's the lining of the bag. The outside of the lining was the wrong side of the bag because that's what's sandwiched inside. So, you know, you have that, you sew together the bottom and the side, and then the top is still open, and you sewed them with a 1/2 inch seam allowance, right? So that took care of your a 1/2 inch over here and a 1/2 inch over here. So that's your plus 1 inch on the side to side of your measurements. And then for the up and down, you got the 1/2 inch down here, and then you take um, the half inch at the top and fold that down. Okay. So instead of having a cut edge at the top, you have the the top edge folded down, and then you just slip this sucker into your bag, and just like I did here, you whip stitch it around. So actually, when you're doing that measurement, when you measure this, I would say, I mean, you can either fold this instead of half inch down at the top, you could fold it 3/4 of an inch down, or you could do the height of the bag plus 3/4 of an inch instead of plus 1 inch. And that way, when you do take off the half inch and take off the half inch, your bag lining is about 1/4 of an inch shorter than your bag is. Okay. That way, it, you can put the lining in a little bit low. Now, the thing is, usually when I do this, when I do a lining, I do actually make my lining depending on the length of the bag. Like this lining for the fabric lining on this one is probably currently about 1/4 to a half inch taller than the bag. And I do that because I know the bag is going to start to stretch a little bit. And it's even a little bit wider than the bag. I know it's going to stretch a little bit. I want to allow the bag to stretch a little bit, but not a lot. The fabric won't stretch. So think about that. Whatever size you make your lining, if you're using a no stretch fabric, which I am, Layla, Layla and Kyla say, "Hi, Mom." um, so if you're using a non-stretch fabric like I am, most of your quilting fabric is just going to be a non-stretch fabric. All right. Then whatever size you make your lining is the size the bag is going to be. Now there's some thickness to your bag, so there's a little bit of variance in there, but your bag will no longer stretch. You know, we're used to, if you have a crochet bag, you can put a bunch of stuff in it. It makes it great for like a market bag. You can toss in all the fruit and everything you want, and it'll kind of take the shape of everything. Once you've lined your bag, that is gone. And in this situation, that is exactly what I want. I don't want it to stretch. I want it to be the size that it is and stay that way. So think about that when you're doing your lining. And like I said, so for this one, I will probably measure the size, measure the outside of this purse. Okay. And I'll have my rectangle that is the height of the bag plus 1 inch and the length of the bag times 2 plus 1 inch. All right. And then I'll fold it in half. I'll do my seam on the side and the bottom at a half inch. And then I'll fold the top down a half inch and I'll slide it in here and stitch it down about 1/4 of an inch below. What that'll do is it'll give me a bag that's, the lining will be a tiny bit, about 1/4 of an inch longer than the bag is. And it'll also be a little bit wider because I'm going to be tracing along the outside of this. And this crochet, like I said, has a bit of thickness in it. So the inside is actually a little smaller than the outside, right? And since I'm not taking that into account when I'm cutting my piece for my lining, it'll make my lining a little bit bigger than my bag. And that is cool. That is what I want. That way the bag will have a little bit of stretch, but not too much. All right. And the same thing when I do the strap. If I do something that, if I do like crochet or something for the strap, I will use one of those tips that I gave you before, the when we did the bag straps. And I will do something like, I will do one of those tips to keep it from stretching, to keep the strap from stretching, so that, you know, when I start the day, my bag is like, you know, right where I can put my hand in it. And then by the end of the day, my bag is like hanging at my knees. Don't want that. So you need to make sure that your strap isn't going to be stretching. Okay. So there's those. I am not putting a lining in the phone one, which I have at this point buried. Because I keep moving things about to show you stuff. Here it is. So I'm not putting a lining in the phone one because it's just going to be my phone and maybe like my room key, a debit card, whatever in here. Not going to put a lining in it. I will make sure that the strap isn't going to stretch too much. But I'm not going to bother putting a lining in it. I will probably, again, what I'll probably do with this one is I'll have the D-rings here and I'll probably make 2 straps. One that is just maybe like 8 inches long, and one that's long enough to be a crossbody strap. So if I'm walking around and I just want to bring my phone and my debit card with me, I can just wear this as a crossbody with a phone in it. And if I'm taking the other bags, I can use that 8-inch strap, and I can put the 8-inch strap on here and just, we'll pretend like this is it, right? Since I have the D-rings, it would, in the lobster clasps, I would clasp it on over to this side, and then I would run the strap underneath the strap of this bag, and then clasp it on over here. So it's around the strap of the bag, and then it can just hang. All right. I would rather have several things hanging off of my bag than several crossbody straps across my body. It just, every single one you have makes whatever you're wearing look funny. It starts to like feel weird. I want to have one crossbody strap that I make sure is comfortable and everything, and leave it at that. Let's see. We have done all of these comments. We have done all of these comments. Okay, good. And it is only 12:26. Nifty. Okay, so that is where we are with this. I need some water so I can keep talking. All right. Having one of those days where like I just feel like I need a nap, right? All right, so then we were also going to talk about the trade show that I'm going to. So I'm leaving here on Monday because all day Tuesday is the Go Sadie Creator Summit. So that's kind of like awesomeness. we talk about and learn about there's like presentations and collaboration time, and chatting. There's chatting with brands. My English gone. There's time where we get to chat with brands. There's times when we're going to hear from designers who are really good with social media, or I think there's one about copyright and trademark and stuff, which I had fun with earlier this year. Not actually, it wasn't fun, but yeah, I had to deal with that earlier. Actually, well, about 6 months ago or something. I don't even remember when it was at this point, but it was a while. It was, within the last year. And yeah, there's just different, we learn about different stuff, and that's helpful to us as your creators. And then Wednesday, that's Tuesday, and then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is the actual trade show, where the various brands are there, in the big like warehousey space in the convention center, Rosemont Convention Center in Rosemont, Illinois, basically Chicago-ish, right by O'Hare Airport. They say Chicago. So, and it's right by O'Hare, like I said, right by O'Hare Airport. And we get to talk to the brands. Like the main thing there is they're selling to the retailers. So the retailers, the people who own the stores or whatever, are going around and seeing their new products and everything. But then your creators, content creators, designers, publishers, we all walk around, and we can also see what those new products are, talk about advertising, all that sort of stuff, working together with the brands. So H&H, it's originally from in Cologne, Germany. It's still there, happens every year, and like it's a bucket list item for a lot of like designers and creators who have to do with yarn, because it's fiber centered. But then right after quarantine, they came to the States and opened up a branch in Chicago for H&H America, which is awesome because over quarantine, we lost our yarny trade show, right? And our crafty trade show that had a decent amount of yarn as well, merged with, or got picked up by an art trade show. And while they're doing pretty good for most of the crafty aspect, they're kind of not doing great for the fibery aspect, especially yarn. I feel like there was maybe one yarn company there when I went last year. I didn't go this year. Last year when I went, I brought Kyla with me, and so it made sense to go because it gave her, it helped her like meet some of the brands, gave her a really good confidence boost, got her to kind of see how you negotiate with companies and everything. It was awesome. It was a wonderful experience for her. It was so much fun for me. And I got to see the people who I only would see at the crafting side of the trade shows as opposed to the fiber sides, which was again great. But business wise, it didn't make sense for me to go again because there just wasn't enough fibery stuff. So with H&H, when they started 3 years ago in America, it was mostly just yarn with a little bit of fabric. Then last year, it was a whole lot of yarn and a whole lot of like fabric, sewing machines, like a whole lot of the fabric side too. So now they have all of the fiber stuff really, really done. And then this year they've started adding in even more crafts. So it's actually, H&H is actually growing kind of to be like the old craft one used to be, where there was yarn and all the crafts too. So it's really exciting because all of the yarn stuff is there, the fabric stuff is there, and now we're getting the other crafts as well. So I'm super excited about this year. And it means that I'll get to talk to those different brands. So if there are, things you would like to see within Crochet Foundry or Jessie at Home, let me know, like now. I know I've told you before, but let me know, because this is a really great opportunity for me to meet those people and make those connections. I have a lot of the connections already because I've been going to trade shows for like over a decade at this point. But some of them I need to kind of revisit. Some of them need some TLC. Not that that sounded like I was saying I have a bad relationship with some. I don't have bad. Some of them just have lapsed, like I just haven't worked with a company for a while. They might have a new point person that I would be working with or something. So and it's always nice to just, when you can actually see somebody in person, actually see them in person. It's nice to work with people that like you've actually met. So yeah, and of course it means that, if you guys are like, oh yeah, take a look at what Diamond Dot's new stuff, whatever the Diamond Art new stuff is, can you take a look at that and see if maybe you can do some reviews of that or whatever. I can find out. Like I brought up the Diamond Art because last year I don't remember, I feel like they might have been at H&H. They might have been at both. I remember talking to them last year, and I like I said, I'm not entirely positive if it was one or both of the trade shows that I was at last year, because they were like one after the other. But like they had some new stuff that was really, really cool that I hadn't really thought about before, and it was neat. And they started doing some like master level is what they were calling it, like masterpieces. And they had like different size, like they've always had some of the bigger ones, but then they had some of the Diamond Dots that were even smaller for like little details and stuff. It was kind of intense. So yeah, things that you would like to see within Crochet Foundry, within the magazine, within the community, on the blog, things on Jessie at Home, let me know, because this is when I have the opportunity to talk to those brands, share new products with you, all of that sort of stuff. Okay. Let's see. I think that it might be about it for the day. Next week, there either won't be a live or it will be the mods running the live. This week, today, there is not a sit and stitch because this is actually the 5th Wednesday this is actually the 5th Wednesday of the month, and we have sit and stitches scheduled for 4 Wednesdays, not 5. So there isn't a sit and stitch this Wednesday, and the next Wednesday is, of course, when I'm at H&H. And so there won't, so next Wednesday's was canceled, so there won't be a sit and stitch today or a week from today. The live hopefully will happen with my moderators. Monique says that it sounds like fun and wants to know what I am most looking forward to at H&H. I want to see who all the new people are. When I was at Vogue Knitting Live at the end of January, Darren was there. Darren is the man in charge of H&H. He's a lot of fun. And I was chatting with him, and last year, I was saying how like last year we were overflowing out of the convention hall that we had, like to the point where there were classrooms around the convention hall, and some of the booths were actually in the classrooms. So some brands just had a classroom instead of a booth. Yarnspirations had a classroom. Rowan/DMC had a classroom. I don't remember everybody had classrooms, but some of the booths were actually classrooms, which was nice because they had the whole room, but they weren't on the floor, right? So you had to know to go there, and they were very good at making sure that people knew that there were booths there. They made it really, really clear. Like there's no way you could have not known that was happening unless you just weren't paying attention. So, I was talking to him at Vogue Knitting Live, and I was like, did we get a bigger boat? Last year we were like, we're going to need a bigger boat. He said, yes, not only did we get a much bigger haul this year, but we are going to still like really fill the new haul. So there's going to be a lot of stuff going on, and there's going to be a lot of stuff. And I'm really excited to see what is there outside of the yarn and fabric aspect. I'm really excited to see. It's so fun to watch this grow. Like while everything else seems to be shrinking ever since H&H opened right out in America right after quarantine, the show just keeps getting bigger and better, and everybody, like the vibe when you walk in there, it's happy, it's excited, it's like, oh my God, look at this, we really are here and thriving. It's really, really wonderful. So I'm really looking forward to seeing the growth. Susan wants to know what's trending in fiber arts. I will definitely be paying attention to that. I will be taking some photos and everything, and I'll make sure to share things with you. I know when I was at Vogue Knitting Live, I was able to do some kind of video tours of some of the booths. It's a little less likely to be able to happen with this one. And like when I did the video tours of the booths at Vogue Knitting Live, I was able to give you like the links where you could buy the stuff. And sometimes they gave me a coupon code I could share with you and everything. H&H is not about retail sales. It's not about purchase. Most of the booths aren't even selling. There's no cash and carry. There's no like buying something there and walking away with it. At the majority of the booths at H&H, you have to like get a different like you have to, there's a different thing to get to even be allowed to sell from the booth, because what the sales they are making is the sales they're making are like the sales to the retail stores where they're ordering a whole bunch of, they're ordering their inventory, right? That's the main point at H&H, is finding the things you want to have in your store, ordering your inventory, all of that. Some of the booths have the permission to actually sell from the booth. Not many. So, and sometimes what they're showing at the trade shows, because it is an industry specific, you have to actually, it's not just whoever can pay can walk in. You have to meet certain criteria to be able to attend. So some of the things they show in the booth, it's like, this is going to be released in 6 months, and it's right now it's not at all public. So like you can't take a photo of it and show it or you're in trouble. And that's part of like when you're getting your tickets and everything, it's made clear videos and photography are not allowed in the convention hall without checking with whoever is going to be in the video and the photography, without checking with those booths and everything, because some things are not to be shared publicly yet. But I usually do find plenty of places that are like, oh, you can definitely take a video, you can definitely take a photo, don't you know, don't show this section here, but the rest of it is cool and they love it, because again, advertising for them, right? So I will let you know the new stuff and take photos and share things with all of you, of course. And some of you may have noticed over the weekend, those of you who are Patreon patrons may have noticed I did a couple of like impromptu lives while I was getting some fabricy stuff done. Kyla and I are making her outfit for prom, and so I was working on that pattern, and I did some live videos on Patreon there. I'm thinking I want to do those more frequently. So when I get back from H&H, um, I might do like a regular schedule of like twice a week for at least an hour. So maybe on like Tuesdays and Thursdays at 11 Eastern or noon Eastern or something for at least an hour, and it may go longer, but it'll be at least an hour. And that way you guys will know when it's happening. But then I'll still probably also do impromptu ones, because while it happens live and you can like comment and ask questions and everything while it's live, it does record it, so you can then watch the recording as well. And let's see, hold on, we have some more comments. Oh, Monique also wants to know what's trending. Oh, here we go. Monica is here. Hello, Monica. And Monique can't wait to see what Kyla's prom outfit is going to look like. And Monique is saying hi to Monica. So yeah, so that will all be here. Let me do a little screen share. Oh, I once again forgot to set up. I opened up the screen so it would be where I want it to be, but I forgot to just really quickly set it up here. All right, there we go. And this is actually the one I kind of like. All right, so when I have those scheduled, again, if you go to crochetfoundry.com, if you're on a mobile device, you won't see this top menu. What you'll see is the hamburger menu, which is those three lines, right? It's like a hamburger, the bun and the meat and the bun, the little hamburger menu. If you click on the hamburger menu, this will pop out vertically, but it'll pop out. And then under community, there is an event calendar, and I have on my to-do list today, right here, I have update my event calendar. So you can see here we are. Today is the 30th, and here we have lunch with the Foundry. But you can go forward, and I think I don't have a lot of things written down in May. I think I got halfway through May when I was doing my schedule before. Yeah, like, so the 7th is blank, and it's supposed to be blank because I am out of town. And then I got scheduled up through the 21st. There is something else on the 28th that just I haven't, like I said, I haven't finished. This was as far as I went for putting the schedule on here. So I'm going to update the event schedule. And then when I'm back from H&H, I will probably add in some scheduled lives, and those will be some scheduled live streams for basically studio time, okay, where I'm just working on things. So kind of what you see on, if any of you do, I want to say Twitch. I think that's it, right? That's the streaming one. Um, where people are just, they just have their video on during their studio time, and you can comment or whatever. That's kind of along the lines of what I'm going to be doing. Probably on like Tuesdays and Thursdays will be scheduled, like I said, for at least an hour. It will almost always end up going over the hour, I have a feeling. Um, but that way there's some set time. So if you're like, ooh, I want to try to go there, then, and I'll try to also set, like, this is what I'm basically going to be doing. The set times will be set first. But then, like, once I know what I'm going to be doing, I can put that in there. So you can be like, oh, she's going to be doing, you know, sewing today, and I'm not really interested in sewing, so, and then never mind. But then this one, she's going to be doing medieval fiber crafts. That sounds really interesting. I want to go to that one, you know, whatever. Um, so I'll get those on here, and then again, there'll probably be some other impromptu ones. But the important thing to know about those streaming things is you will have to be at least, you will have to be one of the Patreon patrons on one of the paid levels. It's a patron thing. Um, the least expensive patron level is for the crochet along. You get the crochet along pattern PDF every month, and my patterns start at $4.99. The crochet along level is $5 a month, so that basically pays for the pattern. And then everything else you get is a bonus. Okay, so there's many things on top of the pattern that you get, but the various levels of Patreon, you'll be able to see those lives. There will be some things that I might only do for higher levels, but I'll try to get 2 scheduled a week for any of the paid levels on Patreon. Okay. But that will be when I'm back from H&H, just because I need to get through this. Not only H&H, but also then the summer issue of Crochet Foundry comes out on the 16th. All right. So once the summer issue is out, and then we are really truly on one issue every 3 months, because it'll be seasonal instead of monthly. So once the summer issue comes out and there's not another issue for another 3 months, that is, H&H will be over. We'll be into the seasonal issues. That is when I will start having more time to really dedicate to the community, to making more content, more free content on the blog, and you know, more free content, more patron content, all of that. I will start having that time after the May issue comes out, because at that point the trade show will be over and we'll be into doing seasonal issues instead of monthly. And so that's when things are really going to start hopefully growing a lot. And I'm really, really excited about that. I'm also really excited about maybe getting a little bit of sleep, and maybe having time to like do stuff other than work. That would be really, really nifty. All right, because ever since I bought Crochet Foundry, I have basically been working, like, every moment that I'm awake. When we have our annual vacation, we go on for 2 weeks every year, and I worked like a half day every single day that we were there this year. Yeah, so this past summer, I would love to, you know, maybe have to work half day 2 or 3 days of the first week, and maybe hopefully only one at the most of the second week. That would be great if I could do that this year. But yeah, this past summer, I had to do a half day pretty much every day that we were there. So it would be nice to actually have a little bit of time. All right. I think we are good. Susan had to run to class and we'll be watching the replay. Yay. Oh, and Monica said hi back to Monique. Oops, I missed the button. Oh, and I realized that I'm still on screen share. I need to remove myself. I meant to click to myself. There we go. Come on. Oh, that's because that's not the right button. You would think by now I would know how this thing works, right? I also need to look. I got a new camera. the camera that I'm using right now is a new one, because I got a new webcam, so that I can, for the zooms, I can bounce from camera to camera. So I got a new webcam so that when we do the Zoom, the sit and stitch Zooms and stuff, I can have the one that is me and then a second one that's overhead, so that, or overhand, so that if people have questions and I want to show them something, I can just bounce to that screen and show you what I'm doing. All right, which is probably going to be like right back here. Right now there's a camera back there, but that's a camcorder. It's not like, that's like 10 or 12 years old. So it's not set to connect to the computer and do live streaming. It's great for when I'm making videos that I'm going to edit and everything like that. But I had to get another webcam so that I could, when we're doing a sit and stitch, a Zoom, I have the overhead camera that I can just bounce to if somebody asks a question and I want to show you what I'm doing, right? Currently, the way the live streams on through Patreon work, I have not been able to figure out a way to have two cameras. What I would love for Patreon is to have like a main image and then like a corner image. But even if I just can like bounce like I can on Zoom, that would be awesome. I did learn recently that Patreon is in the process of working on having their live streams go directly through Patreon. Right now, if you do a live stream on Patreon, it's actually, it's technically, it's an unlisted video, an unlisted live on YouTube. So you do an unlisted live on YouTube and it goes through Patreon. And so that's what people are actually watching, is the unlisted live on YouTube. And what I heard about a week ago is that Patreon is working on doing it, having it through their own platform. So it'll be more like Twitch, and then also have all of the other community bonus aspects that that's already there. So I'm hoping when they do that, then having the two cameras will be an option, because I know that they do that on Twitch. So I'm hoping that they'll have that option. And hopefully there'll be some people at H&H that I can talk to about Patreon to learn more about that and find out more about what is going on, because that would be awesome. Okay. So I think we are basically good. Monica says her grandkids are calling to go play, so she'll check the replay. Grandkids are awesome. Well, I don't have any, but from what I hear, grandkids are awesome. I don't need any yet. We're not there yet. Not there yet. But I mean, I know enough people who have grandkids to know that grandkids are awesome. And I've been a grandkid. So, all right, I think we are good here. I mean, it's 12:54 anyway, and I will be taking lots of photos and sharing and everything from H&H. I'm really looking forward to that, and I look forward to talking to you all when I get back from H&H. And all of the awesome growing that we're going to do. May 16th is going to be when the summer issue comes out. If you haven't gotten the April issue yet, it kicks butt. Make sure you get it. You are going to love it, and you are really going to love the summer issue. It's going to be really cool. All right. So I will talk to you later. Thank you for stopping by. Have a wonderful day and week and end of your spring, beginning of your summer, all of that. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.